Hello, Michael Irish Football Fan TV. This is our opposition preview. We're on to our second game of our UEFA Nations League campaign against Ukraine. I'm joined by Andrew Todos, and he's coming to give us the lowdown from a Ukrainian point of view. He's obviously coming in a bit down after yesterday's result, and I can't really blame you. We're obviously coming in off a result against Andorra that's deflated us, but it wasn't a result that stopped us from getting to the World Cup. And in my opinion, and speaking on behalf of Irish people, for this channel anyway, our heart went out to you for that penalty decision. At least it should have been at least a penalty. You never know what could have happened from there, and I felt as though you were quite robbed in that sense. So commiserations on that front. But Andrew, do you want to tell us kind of about your, like, I found you on Twitter, and I find your account quite good from a Ukrainian standpoint. So do you want to tell the audience what you do on that account, and just so they kind of have a bit of an idea?
Yeah, hi Paul, and thanks for having me on. Looking forward to chatting a bit about the Ireland game, which will hopefully give a bit of respite to all the Ukrainians who are still probably quite gutted after the Wales game. Yeah, I'm Andrew Todos. I run the account Zoria Londonsk on social media, so Twitter, Instagram. Also got a website, and it's basically I'd say the main English language account that focuses on Ukrainian football, um, and also some of the political and all the other things that are currently going on in Ukraine related to the war and invasion. I'd like to touch on that to share with an audience that might not be able to have access to certain accounts and the likes. And yeah, I've been doing this for about 4 years now in terms of Ukrainian football journalism. Been following Ukraine national team home and away as much as I possibly can. Obviously, through COVID, was a bit difficult in certain occasions, but managed to get the maximum that was possible out of those times. And obviously, followed them at the Euros last year, and now hoping to go for a golden year, golden calendar year with Ukraine for the first time ever. Made slightly easier by the fact they're not going to the World Cup now, but still, still slightly raw about that result. But yeah, um, looking forward to chatting about Ireland.
Yeah, well, I suppose we'll start with, we're coming into this. If you want to talk about Ireland, I don't really want to talk about Ireland at the minute, but if we're talking about, like, we're coming into this after a very bad result from our point of view. This is as bad as the Luxembourg result, which happened last year. So off the back of that, we saw a reaction from the team, and I think that there will be a reaction at, the game's going to be at home. It's in front of the Aviva. My thinking is with Ukraine is that you're going to come in and not have, um, I would say, as much of your top players at your disposal. I think that the likelihood is they'll be rested because these would have put a lot into that game yesterday against Wales, and I know you were at the game, so you can tell me a bit more about that as well. But I'm coming into this thinking that there's an actual chance that we might get a result from this game. Whereas last week I wasn't thinking that at all, and after the Armenia game, probably wasn't thinking it either. But when I kind of think about it and just how much you should put into this week with the Scotland game and then the Wales game, it kind of it makes me think that it'll be a more rested side against Ireland on Wednesday, and I think you're going to come to it later on, is that there'll be a stronger side for the game over in Poland.
Yeah, so I think Alexander Petrakov, Ukraine manager, even confirmed that all the players that didn't play against Ukraine, that didn't play against Wales on Sunday, definitely will be playing against Ireland on Wednesday. So you're going to get the likes of the players that came on as subs, I guess Sidorchuk, Shaparenko in the midfield, Mudrik out wide, who really impressed against Scotland. Dovbyk up front, I think will be getting at least a considerable amount of the 90. Might see a new goalkeeper, possibly Pyatov, but as he's so old, possibly some of the younger players in terms of Lunin, who just arrived last week at camp quite late after the Champions League final. And then also Riznik, who hasn't been much of a Ukraine starter or anything like that, but has featured in a couple of friendlies. So it's going to be interesting. It's quite unpredictable how exactly Ukraine will set up. Will they go for the similar formation that they have done in recent games, or will Petrakov try and switch to maybe a three at the back with more attacking fullbacks, that kind of thing? But on the whole, the squad has got enough depth to have more or less a second 11. So it will be interesting to see how they perform. But in general, a lot of those players got quite a fair bit of game time in the three friendlies that Ukraine played prior to the Scotland and Wales game. So it will be interesting to see how the actual game comes about. But like you say, obviously, you guys lost against Armenia, so you'll want to bounce back. Our players will have maybe something a bit more to prove to try and break into that starting 11 because they'll be getting a rare chance to play in a competitive game. So yeah, I think it will be very tight. And I think I was speaking to some other Irish media last week, and we just joked that it'll probably end up 1-1 because you guys love a draw. And in our qualifying campaign for the World Cup, we got 6 draws out of 8. So yeah, looking forward to another dud rubber.
I think when we look at results against Ukraine, we'd look upon a draw as a good result at this stage. But I think if you're putting out a second string team, it's kind of similar to the Belgium game that we played. Basically, Belgium had to put out a number of players. Roberto Martinez had said that he was putting out a number of players that he felt they had to show. This was the last game that they could show something before. I think the squad was going to be picked, or because it was kind of coming into the last run of the season. I don't think players wanted to get injured, and he wanted one final look at players to kind of come in there and see what they could do. So I think that might be the case as well now. That was the case obviously with the playoff. The playoff final against Wales. I think he played his absolute best there. I think maybe now he has to look at who can he bring in that will help the team going forward, and who can make the step up, and who can he rely on for the rest of these Nations League games, because you have to play us twice. You probably play Scotland again. Is that right? I don't know what way.
Yeah,
it is
both
now
of those are
after
in September. Yeah.
Okay, and I think you have to play Armenia as well, do you?
Yeah. Well, we've not kicked off, obviously, so you guys, I think, got the little bit of a head start because there wasn't any. You weren't involved in the playoffs, but yeah, 3 games now left in this window, and then the remainder in September, and possibly I think that's the end of the international calendar, if I'm not wrong, for the people that aren't going to the World Cup. Maybe there might be some like random friendlies just before the World Cup starts, but I think on the whole, or maybe even during the World Cup, there might be something on, maybe like alternate tournaments, just where like some teams can play each other. Who knows? But yeah, it's a bit of a weird year. That in total, obviously, you'll have the Nations League, and then that'll be it.
Yeah, well, I think we have the games in September as well, and then it's kind of after that you're kind of going, yeah, what's there to do? Will probably be some warm up friendlies for teams that are qualifying for the World Cup. There'll probably be friendlies against probably ourselves, and I think you guys. Hopefully, the stuff that's going on in Ukraine will be over by then. We can only hope that that's the case. It might not be, but I think that's the only way you'll probably play more games like that, whereas I kind of look at us and this game, I think we have to get a result for this game, just purely Stephen Kenny not getting a result against Armenia the last day puts huge pressure on him, because there was already a lot of fans and media that were on his case when he was doing all right after the Luxembourg game. Results went our way and we were winning games, but we do tend to struggle against teams that are necessarily, like you would say, they would sit in against us, like probably we'll have to do against you guys. We struggle to break down teams when teams sit in against us. Luxembourg and Azerbaijan and now Armenia, they've had our number in that sense. But when we've been able to actually get at teams and attack teams, when we played with pace, but we didn't play with pace against Armenia. We played with Enda Stevens and Seamus Coleman as our wing backs, and they just weren't getting around up and down like they used to. Whereas I think if Matt Doherty was there and I don't know who on the left, but I think if Matt Doherty was there, he would have caused a lot of problems for the Armenians, just because he can get up and down all day long, and he's a real threat in that position. It's his best position. I think he's one of the best players in the Premier League when he's played in that right wing back role. But it seems to be the case that we or he's not going with those players. But I think you might see a reshuffle of the squad on Wednesday, and I think players like Festi Ebizeli is just signed, but Udinese had a good season with Derby County. He might be brought in just to do that role this time around. But then I'm thinking it's Ukraine, he might not. But then you say that the likelihood is it's going to be not your strongest team, so there's a chance that he could go with it. So it's going to be interesting to kind of see what way do you see your team lining up, and who should we be most fearful of then, especially if the likes of Zinchenko and Yarmolenko probably won't play. From what you're telling me, they may do, but it sounds like they won't.
Yeah, so I think that if we're looking at in goal, I'm completely cannot guess which of the other three keepers in our squad he'll go for. Literally none the wiser. So I'll leave that guess. But centre backs, we might see the likes of Popov, who plays at Dynamo Kiev. He's recently had an injury of the Ukraine camp, but I think he should be okay to play there. And you've also got Zabarny. There's also quite a lack of right back backup in the Ukraine team at the moment, with Karavayev, who's played the past two games, more or less our only right back, and he's still not really a right back. He's more of a right winger who's been playing right back for a number of years. So you put in there probably Sirota, who is usually a centre back himself, but has played there in recent times during one of those friendlies that Ukraine had prior to the Scotland game. And then on top of that, probably left back, get Edward Sobel, who plays for Club Bruges. And then in the middle, it might be a mix up of Sidorchuk, who we've seen come on yesterday, with Shaparenko in the middle, and then possibly even centre defensive mid. You'll have the likes of Ikhnatenko, who just arrived the day before the Wales game because he had some British visa issues that didn't get resolved until after the Scotland game. So he might be given his debut in that respect. And then in attack, I think it should be rather simple. Probably Zubkov, who plays for Ferencvaros on the right. Not the best player in the world, not the most effective, but I'm sure he'll be given a bit of a go once again. Then on the left, I'd probably say the biggest danger man in the team, or the most exciting player that is most likely to start. Mihailo Mudryk, if anyone watched the Scotland or the Wales game, in his sort of brief cameo spells, he sort of looks like a real bright star. And I think he's got a lot of pace. He's got a lot of technical ability, loves to dribble, loves to try and beat players in and around inside the box. So he'll definitely be the one to watch in this match. And then obviously up front, it will be Artem Dovbyk, who just today actually is being linked or being in negotiations with Nottingham Forest for over £10 million move to the Premier League. So that will be an interesting one as well. He obviously scored against Scotland, but missed about 3 or 4 other great chances, like sitters, really. So that will be an interesting one. He's got a bit to prove himself, obviously, because the scouts will be watching him. Obviously, he'll have a bit more pressure on if he does want to sign for a club such as Nottingham Forest that will be playing in the Premier League. Also, he's got Torino in Serie A, quite interested in him. So that will be interesting. And just going back to Mudryk, he's similar to Dovbyk in the fact that Bayer Leverkusen are after him, and they're quite adamant that they want to buy him for like over 20 million euros. But apparently, there's news in Ukraine that Shakhtar Donetsk, who he plays for right now, don't want to sell him. So I'm sure that will be a saga that will carry on for a while once the window opens. In general, yeah, I think that will be quite more or less the core XI. And then maybe as the game goes on, you might see in the final 20 minutes, 10 minutes, like Yarmolenko coming back on, getting another cap, possibly trying to go for that goal record of Shevchenko's, who is just 3 away from equaling the legend that is Andriy Shevchenko. So it will be interesting, and I'm sure that probably this game in Dublin will probably be a bit more experimental. And then once we play each other next week in Łódź in Poland, it'll be probably a completely different story with more or less the full strength side, given sort of a final hurrah before the summer. And no one 100% knows what the situation might be like in September. So I'm sure they'll give it a big one, especially as this will technically be the home game, and hopefully there'll be quite a bit of sizable Ukrainian diaspora support over there in Poland. Chanting them on.
Yeah, well, I just I actually fearful for the away leg, to be fair, because I feel like your full strength team is going to be there, but it does sound like even with your kind of backup players, I heard you speaking there about your right back, and it kind of reminds me of James McLean playing as a left back, because we didn't have left backs at the time. But a player I forgot to mention earlier who may play because he's pacey is Ryan Manning. He plays for Swansea. He could play, and Cyrus Christie could play as well, a right wing back as well. So there's those. We've a couple of players in there that'll probably come in and give Seamus Coleman maybe a night off. Or he might decide to put Seamus in the back three, so to speak, like a centre back role, but he's not as much dependent to be up and down as much. But you just wouldn't know with Stephen Kenny. His press conference is going to be there tomorrow, so we'll find out if there's any injuries or anything like that as well. So I just at the moment I haven't heard of any injuries, and I haven't heard of any illnesses or anything like that. So far, as I know right now, there's been no injuries in the. Oh, well, actually, sorry, Gavin Bazunu pulled out with an injury, and James Talbot's been called up in his place. But the likelihood is Caoimhín Kelleher will start again in goal, and Mark Travers will be on the bench. I don't see any reason why he would do that, and James Talbot would just be on the bench as well. Sorry, as just as the third goalkeeper. So that's the way I think. I as far as our lineup, I don't think he'll change too much. I think he'll take about 4 players out and put 4 players in. I couldn't imagine him doing that much too different, considering the opposition we're playing against yourselves. So it's going to be interesting. It's going to be, as you say, experimental, I think, and it's going to be a good kind of look at and a good test ahead of Scotland. But I feel as though if there was ever a chance to try and catch us on the hop, it'd be this game, considering just coming off the back of the Welsh result, and we need a reaction, and we've got the Aviva as well there, when that's full of fans chanting us on. Although I do believe the FAI gave 2,000 tickets to Ukrainians as well, so that'll help you a little bit as well. But I think whatever the occasion, I think it's going to be good for both teams and both fans in that respect. I think there'll be a lot of respect shown to Ukraine in that sense, and we actually did a Ukraine versus Ireland fans game here.
Yeah, I heard about that one.
Yeah, we actually have it on our channel there, so it was quite good, and they had the national anthem that Ukraine won. Like, I think it was. Oh, was it? Did it finish 4-4? I think it finished 4-4. They were winning 4-1 at one stage, but it was a great day out, and everybody seemed to have fun. So I hope a large portion of those fans that were there that day get to come to the game, because they were.
I'm sure
a lovely bunch.
And I think there's quite a few Ukrainian refugees over in Ireland at the moment, and on top of that, quite a sizable Ukrainian diaspora. So I think the support will be brilliant, and I think it should be a good atmosphere. And yeah, very much looking forward to the Aviva, because I've wanted to go there for a while. Very unique looking stadium, and I'm sure it's going to be great.
Yeah, well, you won't be disappointed by the stadium. It's beautiful. You'll have a great time. Are you in the media, or are you going as a fan?
I'm going to try and do a bit of both, which is what I like doing from time to time if I've got the possibility, a half in each when it comes down to it.
Same as myself. But no, listen, I just want to say a huge thanks for coming on and kind of giving us a lowdown, and then we have a better kind of understanding. We might get you on again just before the next game, if you're around, and we'll kind of have a look at it from that sense, to see if there's that much changed or anything like that. But yeah, listen, anyone who is on Twitter, and you're also on Instagram, you said, it was a Facebook as well, you said?
Yeah, just
so
the
every
same.
Every platform, your username there is at Zoria Londonsk. Did I say that right?
Yeah, Zoria Londonsk. Yeah,
it's Londonsk. Sorry. It's just trying to pronounce it right. So yeah, make sure you check it out, especially when you keep up to date with everything within Ukraine football, and I suppose you said as well things that are going on in Ukraine at the moment as well. So check out Andrew's pages, all of them. If you're listening on podcast, don't forget to rate us. Don't forget to what did they do on podcasts these days? They rate and they follow, so make sure you do that, because I'm more used to the YouTube side of things. If you're on YouTube, don't forget to subscribe, and don't forget to like the video. We will speak to you all soon. Check out all our other content on our channel as well, and we'll speak to you soon. Thanks for watching.